Hello, Star Wars fans. You know, there are just 16 days until Christmas 2022. Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's almost here. We've got a graduation to go to this evening. Our daughter, Kayla, graduates from Bowling Green State University. We're going to the graduation ceremony this evening. That's super exciting. And then tomorrow, I've got Santa all day. From now until Christmas, it's Santa full time. It's going to be super exciting. We've got lots of things going on. And you know what? We've got a lot of Star Wars stuff to talk about. And I've got my friend Jason and Megan with us. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about Star Wars.
You're very welcome.
When there's so much
congratulations
going
to your daughter. That's great.
It's super exciting. She did it in only 3 years.
What?
She worked really, really hard.
Oh, she doesn't know how to party, man. Let her hair down a little bit. Come on, 5 years. What are you doing?
I'm telling you what, she worked really, really hard. Super proud of her. She even changed majors in the middle, which
and still did it in 3.
And still did it in 3. Well, 3 in a semester. So
you guys Protestant? Got some Protestant work ethic there.
It's an amazing amount of work. Hey, Al Schuler's in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Jason, you said this before. 2022 can just be done. There's some stuff going on. We're not going to talk about it here. Megan and Jason know what's going on, but I'm quite done with 2022, to be honest. And I am super excited for 2023 to come along. We've got some great Star Wars news to talk about. We got some great Star Wars coming up in 2023, and if everything would just calm down, right? Just calm down, and it could be a great year. So we've got that to look for. And I went to the public post office today.
Ooh, is this
Look
mine?
at this.
Did I win this? Is this what I won?
No.
I won this.
I ordered this for myself, and I didn't think it would come in such a big package.
And then I won it. That's what she said. But then I won it. That's cool.
No.
Santa in his package. He's going to empty his sack in a few days. It's nearly Christmas.
I saw a funny meme online, but I'm not going to say it here because it was quite naughty as well. But Meg doesn't need help with that kind of naughtiness. But
I'm having this urge to send Santa a glitter bomb and then have him open on the show.
This thing is the package is huge. So sometimes when you order things from Amazon or whatever, they put it in a big box,
refrigerator box.
Open it, right.
R5D4.
When you open it, you got this little thing. You're like, we really needed that big box for you couldn't just put that in a. So this came from Hasbro Pulse, and I could already see that they overboxed it. Just grab the big one.
That's what she said.
Megan. So all of this paper. We got more paper.
Recycle, Santa. Come on.
Yeah. We got paper everywhere.
Can I just say to everyone who's here, thank you for tuning in to us instead of watching the Brazil game.
Oh. Brazil game's going on right now. Who's going to win?
Oh, man.
I'm hoping Croatia because before the tournament started, I put £20 on Croatia winning the tournament. And they're doing really well. So.
Oh, very good. Very good. So, we got this. We got it's called the rescue set.
I can't accept this. I can't.
You get Moff Gideon. Got Grogu in handcuffs there. Right?
What? What are those groomers doing over
there? We got flame.
Whoa, is that kind of fire?
Fire!
Yeah. What the heck, man?
It's pretty exciting stuff.
All right, open it up now. Let's play with it.
Yeah. He comes with the Beskar spear.
What's going on with these toys today? I mean, did I just become a dad? I'm like, this is too violent. They got a baby in handcuffs. They got a guy on fire being speared.
I once had a dream that the Dark Troopers defeated Grogu, and it was very brutal.
Ooh, that would be bad.
Weird dreams.
That would be bad.
Lay off the caffeine before bed.
it's quite exciting. And I think I'm going to open this up just a little bit because I think there's a bit of a diorama inside where you can
I'm
see.
Grogu. I called Grogu.
Let's see. We get this so you can, because I think they've kind of got it set where they're like in the. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah, so you've kind of got the hallway scene there, right?
Yeah.
So they've got this set up, and they're having their little, and there's Moff Gideon talking to Grogu. You got stuff.
Look at that little
pretty
weirdo.
cool. Pretty cool. So happy to have this. I thought it'd be fun to open that, given what all's going on. We'll just start with some fun stuff. Open up presents early before Christmas.
Yeah, open your toys, dorks. That's what I say.
Exactly. Hey, so Jason, I thought maybe we'd start with the story you released this week. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Star Wars news of the week, and you dropped a story. And
What's
you know
rumored?
what? Not only do we here on this channel and this community, we reference Jason in making Star Wars when we talk about the stories that you release. We go to makingstarwars.net when we read it, and we say, hey Jason, how would you like to come and talk about your story?
I said Jason 19 times in my video. I cut it down to 14.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So you guys, Al Schuler, Star Wars drama? You don't say. Al, it's actually some personal stuff going on in my life that sucks. Right? So, but there's a positive spin on it, and let's just say being married to a pirate would be kind of fun, right?
Yeah,
But
I think
anyway.
so. I mean, I always thought it was pretty cool. You were like Santa Claus, Brian, but being married to a pirate on top of that, that's just a whole new level of mythic that I can't even comprehend at the moment. I haven't processed it yet. So,
right. This is Jason. This is your story for folks. Go out to makingstarwars.net, and we're not going to read through it. You could go do that. This has been in the news for a few days now, but we've got
today's news.
we got Jason here.
To be fair, there's been a lot of other Star Wars news, so some people may not have caught everything.
Good point, Megan. So we have some Skeleton Crew news, and we have some set pic leaks that are out there, and lots of exciting possibilities. And we should be clear, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that's likely to happen, but it's also some good bit of speculation thrown in here too. We're going to throw in some irresponsible speculation along the way as well. Like, this is going to be a fun discussion because Santa has some irresponsible speculation. I can tell you that for sure. Once I read this and I was talking to Jason about it, I'm like, oh, I've got an idea. He's like, no, man, that ain't happening. I'm like, no, I'm going with it until it isn't. So
So that's the thing, is it's like, it's fun to like dream about Star Wars, and it's fun to think about what things can mean and try and place it together and see where it's going to go. The whole thing is that, like, to yourself, as we were talking about, you just can't get attached to your own theories, no matter how fun they are,
right?
Because then you can set yourself up for disappointment, or what they're doing might be completely valid, but some people are like, well, I had a better idea. Well, your idea might not have been feasible for X amount of dollars or something, like whatever happens to be. And
right,
I'm going to put this out there as a prediction. People who are getting too hyped about Skeleton Crew shouldn't. I mean, I think it's going to be a great series, but it's going to be one of those things that's probably very experimental. And so there's going to be some ups and downs, and it's just going to be weird and wonderful, instead of it being this all-out Heir to the Empire retelling.
No, and that is not what I was attempting to push whatsoever, because that's not what Skeleton Crew is. Skeleton Crew is the Amblin story that they're selling. It takes place on the backdrop of just a whole new, like, part of the Star Wars universe we haven't been. That's the point.
Yeah, so let's look at this a little bit, and we'll talk about it in context for folks that haven't read it. It is worth going through. It's a fun story. It's super exciting. And again, as we were saying, the possibilities of what they could do, what they actually do, might be more cool than we imagine. It might just be different. So you make a really good point, Jason. Like, Megan, don't get so married to your idea that when it doesn't happen, you feel like there's been a divorce, right? Like that's
Right.
I like that. I really like that.
So let's thank you.
She's
let's
gone and she's not coming back.
Oh, my Lord.
Pelion, where are you? Where are you, Pelion? Come home.
So you got a couple of pictures. Did you take these yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Look
not
at
very
you.
good, but
No,
there.
look.
Well, check it out. This is actually kind of funny. Like when I was taking this picture right here, I'm not gonna put the picture of the guy, but I'm like actually there, and there's like a security guard, right? And he doesn't see me, and I don't see him. I'm like sitting, just like chilling, taking some pictures, and then all of a sudden, like I like look at him, and I'm like, oh, there's a guy right there, and then for whatever reason, he feels me looking at him, and he looks at me like, what's that guy doing there? And then I was like, I gotta go.
Quick, he's coming.
Yeah, it was.
Very good. So what's your take on a thing? This is hilarious.
Yeah,
I love
that's. I'm not trying to make any claims. Oh, that's a Jude Law's personal bathroom.
It probably is.
Yeah, in the series, this is where Jude Law takes all of his dumps.
This looks like you could see in any town anywhere where they're doing like excavating, and you dig a hole, put the thing like this in it, and then junction
Jason,
lines.
do you know at all if Jude Law's character is going to be visited by an American near Christmas time in this show?
No idea.
For anyone who doesn't get it, it's The Holidays, the film he was in.
Okay, yeah, not a Jude Law expert on this in this arena.
So you bring up that in the Ahsoka series, Thrawn and Ezra end up in this new beyond new space. But also in the Skeleton Crew, they end up in this new beyond new space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think Ahsoka is going to introduce us to a new territory, and then the Skeleton Crew kids are going to end up in that new territory. So like they'll be like I think it's like it. I'm guessing it must be mentioned or implied that that's like a thing in Ahsoka. It happens in Ahsoka, and then because like we know like what Ahsoka's up to from way back in the Mando, like was it 2 years ago now? She's looking for Thrawn and Ezra, trying to find Elsbeth and all that stuff, and so but the Skeleton Crew series is the exploration of said idea.
Okay, and you bring it up in here, right? They're shooting these series in the same general location, not like on the same set on the same day,
literally not on the same set, but literally on the same lot some days.
Right. Is
Like-
the time
like-
frame of Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew completely overlapped, partially overlapped? We can't tell. We don't know.
I would be going too far if I said I knew 100%.
Okay.
I believe that I do believe they take place concurrently, in that yet they cross paths at one point.
Okay.
But here's the caveat: for all we know, because of the shared set, the shared space, you have Ahsoka going from her show, looking at the adorable children, and then now I think she's in the show. I could very well be the case. So I'm not gonna go that. I can't go all the way and say it. That's why I'm like, I have this strong implication, and whenever I've pressed some sources on it, they're like saying like not yet. They know how I pull that sweater and start taking the yarn out on something. So I don't know. So let's just say I don't know.
Okay.
Leave it at that. I think I've made
fair.
it clear where I'm at with it.
Fair. And I want to highlight. I highlighted this sentence because I think there's a discussion to be had here. I heard some folks speculating about what it could or couldn't be, what it is or isn't. And when I read this, it says the region views and uses the Force differently than how our existing Star Wars stories have in the past. Now, we've seen this here and there throughout Star Wars, where they come upon other people who don't call the Force the Force.
Yeah.
But it's still the Force.
Yeah. Like the Bendu guy, Talzin. There's more. I mean, back to the Ewok films.
I'd like to bring up Thrawn and the Chiss. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the Chiss have these space navigators that can use what in the Force is called foresight. Right. And the Chiss, like Force users, are called Skywalkers because they can.
I think Anakin's mom was one of them.
I think so too, or at least she's a descendant of one of them. I absolutely think so. I agree with you, Meg. So they don't call it the Force.
Okay.
But they never use that term, the Force. But that's what they're using. They're using foresight, like Anakin did when he was flying the pod racers. So, and he didn't know that he was using the Force when he was doing that. He's a little kid, never heard of the Force before, right? So, if oh boy, Mike Porter, I was told on stream, if I think Star Wars is in a good place, that I'm ignorant. Not personally, but broadcasted on the stream, this opinion. Yes, I heard that said as well.
Who said it?
Not gonna say.
Was it Jim Cock?
It could have been, but it was somebody else. But so it's not a new precedent to have folks using the Force, but not calling it the Force, and maybe not even in a way that we've seen before. With the Skywalkers in Chiss space, we've seen that before. Like
you know what I cut from this right here was I had a little discussion about Tarkin, and like when Tarkin's talking about the Force and the Jedi and that ancient religion, Force is still there, but I think it implies conceptually, anyways, that the Jedi is a religion. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's the only way to get at this concept of God, or
like
whatever.
Porter. But some people would say it rhymes with losh. That's the term that I've seen.
You know what I like the best. What I love the best about the internet is when somebody puts out a quote scoop, and then has a speculation the very next day on their scoop as if it wasn't true. Well, it's like, if your scoop was true, why would it be speculation on the same exact concept? Weird.
And you know what, guys? I will say this. My scoop on Masamida may have been wrong, but it wasn't fully wrong because Mon Mothma did name drop him like 3 times.
She certainly did. X-Wing, good to see you. Oh my goodness. We've got a friend in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. I hope things are going well for you. So
when it comes to like these kind of stories, like what Meg was saying, I have respect for anybody who releases a scoop, and where there's smoke, there's fire, even if it's the interpretation isn't wrong. Now, there is some very obvious things, like they're gonna do a Star Wars thing with Luke Skywalker. Oh, are they gonna do that? They're gonna make episode 10. Yeah, you'll be right eventually. Like, eventually,
you'll have a new president of Lucasfilm. Eventually,
they're going to fire Kathleen Kennedy in 18 months when the baby's old enough to walk. Like, what? What are you talking about? Like, have you ever had a job before? If somebody told me I'm going to fire you in 18 months, I'd be like selling the company's secrets and putting it in my application other places. Like,
to talk about this using the Force differently, you brought up Mother Talzin, right? And the Night Sisters.
Yeah.
Now, we saw in the Clone Wars animated series that, Maul gets cut in half. And spoiler alert, he lives. Right?
What?
So, I know. It's crazy stuff.
What is this power you speak of?
and he gets taken to the Night Sisters, and they put this green smoke up his... Wait a second. No, they put because that's cut off. That doesn't exist anymore.
Imagine using your wiener and then ending up on a place full of hot witches. That's like a nightmare. That's a nightmare scenario. Like, think about it. That was probably Darth Maul's dream for a time. And then That's the Force, man. That's
Yeah.
that Force life.
And Meg, did you do a video about how does Darth Vader use?
I did. It was one of my first
facilities?
videos.
Yeah. The bigger question: how does Maul use the facilities? Because he got cut off above the waist, or above the pelvis there. So
That's a really good question.
Horn excretions. That's how it works. It's very science fiction-y. Dave Filoni's a weirdo.
So, when they reanimate him with their magic, right?
Yeah.
Is that the Force, or is that something entirely different?
Yeah, it's the Force. But
Do you
it's
think,
not,
Meg,
not
I think it's canonically a version of the Force.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Because I've heard
Didn't
people
Darth
speculate.
Maul say that to Ezra in Star Wars Rebels?
I'm trying.
When Ezra goes to Dathomir.
Yes, I think it's the Force as well. I think it's a version of the dark side of the Force, not Sith, right? Just as Jedi is a religion, Sith is also a religion, a cult, right? Dark side users who aren't members of the Sith could be, say, Night Sisters.
Well, see, that's where I cut this out of the story too, because I didn't want to push something that I didn't have solid enough rumor on. Just a little bit of like, there's basically, oh no, I think I left it in. There's this implication that yet there's like a good version of the Night Sisters, and I can't help but seeing us when you get to the Ahsoka wearing like all the all white stuff in Rebels and stuff. I'm like, is that connected? Is that how we get this? Does she find a new, you know what I mean? Does she find her new people there?
That's what I wanted to get to as well. I'm glad you brought that up because
Dave Filoni has like a big plan for her.
Yes. You think so? Yeah.
I think so, but I do think before Dave Filoni directs anything with Ahsoka, he needs post-nut clarity because he's way too close to Ahsoka as a character. He loves the smell of his own farts. He's just one of those people.
Yeah, it's like if Star Wars was like a D&D game, Ahsoka's his character that he's playing, so he
right. That's
he
really
based
well put,
Jason on his wife.
Oh, that makes her a Mary Sue.
No, it just means that she's never gonna die.
Right. Now, I
don't know, man. You're most likely to get killed by your spouse, is what they say. So
if
we're
the
going to
Night
see if Dave
Sisters
starts getting mad. No,
let's say the Night Sisters are Force user as canonically they are described as being, and the magic is actually a different way of using the Force than say the Jedi or the Sith use the Force, because we've seen that, right? Reanimating Maul, for example, was not something that the Sith did. However, the Night Sisters did it, and even when in Rebels,
Rey does it too, but it's different, right? Or
it
Kylo
is different.
to Rey and the Rey.
Exactly. I think they're a perfect example of using the Force differently than how they have in the past. Like when you read the sentence, right? Mm-hmm. And if there are such thing as Night Sisters in that world, and they use dark magic, would it reason that we've seen Ahsoka the White, and she learns how to use dark magic, light magic, versus say the dark side of the Force, the light side of the Force. They see the Force differently, and perhaps this excursion into this new realm of space gives her a different understanding of the Force than she's had before, and she sees a different aspect of the Force than she's seen before. And we see her become a, say, light sister. So Ahsoka the White is really like Ahsoka the Light, or something like that, right?
I like that. I really like that theory.
And again, we start to get into speculation. We're having fun, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is Star Wars nerds just being nerdy.
And I suspect that Steven's next message is probably where this is going, but I don't know. I don't have
having a Dathomir Night Sister type planet could offer a different location. Yeah, and that's what you allude to in this story as well, right?
Yeah.
So implied that magic users in the Star Wars universe we have seen before originate from this very place. So Night Sisters is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard something about how, like, some of the characters are outcasts. We're going to learn that they were probably outcasts from this place. So that's what makes me think like maybe, maybe Mother Talzin was a jerk and they're like, get out of here or something. You know what I mean? Or whatever it happens to be. However, that washes out in the end.
Yeah. This is at this moment I have more positive hits on Ivana being a night sister / light sister. Look,
yeah, she's some kind of weirdo. But once again, I hope it's clear. I'm being like very like it sounds sort of like that, but
yeah,
she's
doesn't rhyme with Harrison Dula though.
Yeah, I don't think she's playing Harrison Dula.
And again, you're reminded we're talking rumors, but we also have. You said you've even seen pictures of this.
Yeah. They're not mine, so don't ask me to give them to you, anybody. But I imagine those will be leaking any day.
Excellent.
I'm like literally like almost like I should write the post because they're gonna hit. Like I'm pretty sure.
Just be ready to hit.
Yeah. I would imagine. I would be very surprised if they're not out very soon.
That's a hot take. We'll be watching. We'll be watching with great interest.
Yeah.
So more stuff, lots of stuff that we don't know what it is.
There's more stuff. They're they were kind of like out there. Like one thing I want to say about this particular location is the Mandalorian set out in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, not the actual physical outside set. It's like a little league field. Oh. Imagine a little league field. Yeah, that's the space they have to work with.
Wow, that's small.
This place is like a football field.
Okay.
With several sets, roads going between them, and I think that like they may have filmed something trekking a long distance through it because and if you remember a while ago, Bespin had a little photo of somebody on like a track, like a little guy doing on a track doing some stuff. And so anyways, I don't know if this is going to give us I don't think this is going to give us like what they're doing out at Pinewood and Shinfield. I don't think it's going to give us like that level of like Andor set, but it looks like the ability to move is going to be much, much different and are much better. And one thing just to throw out there is that since these are little characters, these are children, you wouldn't necessarily be doing a lot of those shots looking up like that. But if we're able to move and have kinetic energy with little people on the ground, I think it's going to be better. I have my fingers crossed. I think it's going to be a higher looking production than what we've got for Mando. And
nice
in terms of the physical sets, that is.
Yeah,
I can't say what the volume work will be.
First, you heard of bricks and screws. Don't tell me they have grass.
They have grass. Oh, there's some. I think there's some rocks. Some rocks.
There's rocks and grass.
And then
that should be the next.
That picture I have of the engines. When I was there previously, these kind of trees, these like old like trees, were all around it. So it's like it lands on this like creepy looking like place. So I'm not sure how hard they're like leaning into the Stranger Things aspect, like this one right here. So like those are the green like ship engines, and that's what's like the takeaway. I'm pretty sure that's what that is, and that they're just like perched up on this thing, and that the ship will be where the blue screen is. Nobody should step there anyway, so it's just like to take out that space. So I don't think you should pay attention to the structure below, just the engines on top.
Yeah, that's just to support to hold these prospectively.
Yeah.
Because they're attached to a ship that is also going to be CG.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the Klingon ship from the Star Trek films, I think. But I'm not a big Star Trek guy, so I might be misremembering that. But that's kind of what comes to mind when you look at it from different angles.
Sheev, only sand is allowed. And I hate that too. Oh, very good, Sheev. Very good. So just to keep going in your article, there's another part that's worth talking about. Well, the whole thing is, remember when we first heard about Skeleton Crew and rumors that took place in the High Republic era? I think wires might have been crossed, and it's a new era, not a new
someone
area.
Heard, yeah, right? Someone heard new era. They should have been hearing new area. and then
area.
they really ran with it. They went and did some reductive reasoning and came up with High Republic. That's just a theory. I don't know that happened, but that's the only thing way I can make sense. Because if you think back to those rumors, the start date, end date was right, the premise was right, almost everything about it was right, but the era. And so I think it was new area.
Oh, by the way, Jason, I haven't finished Willow 3, but I started watching Willow 3.
Yeah.
And it's the worst episode yet. And also, I don't know about you, but I think that Warwick Davis's acting is terrible in episode 3.
Yeah, that's where he stays now. He doesn't he's just like reading cue cards. It hurts. And you actually can't see very much at the end, like, because they did that thing where they film in the daytime to pretend like it's nighttime because they don't want to film at night. I hate that. It looks so terrible. It looks terrible.
Once you are aware of the technique, you can see it really easily. Like,
yeah. It just looks like junk. So,
so the trees, the rocks, the grass. No, I kid about the rocks and the grass, but says rumor is Ahsoka will introduce new concepts that the skeleton crew will then explore. So, timeline wise, just to remind folks, in 2023. We start off the year with Bad Batch, and we'll talk about Bad Batch here in a second. But we start off the year with the Bad Batch, and then we're going to overlap Bad Batch episodes with Ahsoka episodes, yeah? That's my understanding?
Wait.
No, Mando season 3.
Mando season 3 episodes. Yeah, so sorry about that. So we get Bad Batch, then Mando season 3 with overlap. Just to talk about it briefly, any overlap between Mando season 3 and the Skeleton Crew and Ahsoka?
I doubt it.
It's the same time frame, right?
So here's what has been heavily implied to me is that Mando 3 and Ahsoka. So I think Ahsoka's might go kind of like not in a very specific timeline. They're not going to be very specific. They're not going to take this takes place on October 23rd after the Battle of Yavin. 5 years. But what's going to happen is the Ahsoka series is going to move through Mandalorian season 2, maybe even before Mandalorian season 2, through Mandalorian season 2, and then parallel to Skeleton Crew, and then the events of this are going to go into Mandalorian season 4. So the people in both of these shows and these series are going to play into season 4. So season 3 gets the restoration of Mandalore. Mandalore's back, and then
and season 4 could be the culmination of what happens between Ahsoka and the Skeleton Crew, culminating in that. And do you talk about that in here? I think you do.
Yeah. Because see the thing is that I got people who people who work on projects. Let's just be nondescript about it. People who work in the industry have told me that they believe this is what is going to happen, but it also hasn't filmed yet. So I can't go and say, yeah, they filmed it and Jude Law's there with the Mandalorian and they're best friends now because they haven't filmed anything. So, but everybody is pretty convinced this is the plan.
So let's lay this out, kind of try to draw it as specifically as we can, right? Mm-hmm. Mandalorian season 3, Reclamation of Mandalore.
Yep.
Ahsoka. We find out there's this new space area, and in this new space area,
where's Aladdin? That's the question. Where's Aladdin?
there's a different understanding of the Force out there that we will learn more about in Skeleton Crew.
And Ahsoka's after Grand Admiral Thrawn, and they're gonna meet up and stuff. Like that's going to happen in that series, and something changes when he's out there for him.
So Ahsoka finds Thrawn and Ezra, presumably. I mean, they left together. Presumably, they're still in the same general vicinity, either on the same ship or not, right? without getting too far into stuff. And Skeleton Crew gets out there and they're like, oh no, there's a bad thing getting ready to happen. We need to get back. I think you put it in the term of like, the British are coming, right?
Yeah.
Shh,
Yeah.
don't tell
Yeah.
Meg.
Yeah.
She's,
no, but
she's one of them.
Don't trust those guys though.
2 if by land, 3 if by sea, whatever.
Yeah. That's kind of like it does, and because you always have like a couple of like, in terms of like the story structure, you're gonna have like each individual character has their flaw, their problem that they're working on, what they want to achieve. We have the shared group goal of we want to get home, but then also got to have consequence. And I think the consequence might be we need to get home, because if we don't get home, everybody's going to die or whatever it happens to be. And so
this is the fun part. This is where some of the irresponsible speculation comes in, at least on my part, right? Because when you and I were talking about it, I said, "Oh, what if?" And I talked to Meg about it. "Ooh, what if Thrawn finds the Katana fleet in this new?"
I stole that from Santa. I stole that from Santa right there. I just didn't want to throw him under the bus and say Star Wars Santa suggested.
Is dumb. He is dumb. Look how dumb Santa is.
I loved it. I thought it was fun.
I think it's a ton of fun, because we know already from Heir to the Empire, they've already borrowed some stuff. Thrawn's existence, for example, came from Heir to the Empire, right? That's where his character was invented first introduced to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Even though it's now Legends canonically, right? It was never canon, but the character was brought from Heir to the Empire. So was Coruscant and things like that, right? There's stories, you can go read them, about how George Lucas took some things from Heir to the Empire. But in Bad Batch Season 1, we end at Mount Tantus, and that is also from Heir to the Empire. A lot of things happen. And if you folks are listening in and you've not read Heir to the Empire, it happened after the original trilogy, and there was a thing going on. Thrawn finds this big fleet of Star Destroyers that was lost to space somewhere. They didn't know where they went. Nobody could ever find them. And this guy called Talon Card finds out about it, where they are. And Thrawn finds out about it. And there's this big race to get out to the Katana fleet. That's the name of this fleet of Star Destroyers. And that becomes then a threat to the universe. So knowing that Thrawn came from Heir to the Empire, Mount Tantus came from Heir to the Empire, the Katana fleet disappeared into somewhere. What if the Katana fleet's out here and the Skeleton Crew doesn't actually refer to the group of kids in that vessel with Talon Card? See, I'm joking. With Jude Law. Maybe Jude Law is Talon Card.
Okay,
Maybe.
I'm going to stop you right there, Santa. I've learned way too much from Disney Star Wars that they know nothing about continuity in terms of books, legends, anything. Once in a blue moon, they'll take a name, flip it upside down, and you get a character in canon. But generally speaking, I doubt if Dave Filoni... Okay, maybe Dave knows about it, but I doubt Jon Favreau knows what Heir to the Empire even is. So I would not expect any of this. This is going to be something new. This is going to be for fans who don't even know what a Thrawn is. This is for people who are going to be like, who's this blue human with red eyes? Go in with that mentality and you'll enjoy Ahsoka much more.
So Meg, I think you're both. I think you're right, but do not ever underestimate a fat nerd that's over 37 having not read Heir to the Empire, because we all did.
It's just true, though. I mean, think of Mando. Think of all the expectations.
It's not that good. That let's just be real about it. There's a lot of fun stuff in those books. It came at a very pivotal time, but it's not. Most of it's not screen worthy, and every filmmaker knows that. If it was, they would have been like, "Thank God we got this Heir to the Empire, and we could just make that." It's not. Yeah. But there's concepts in there that work great on screen, but it's not a film. It's a book. It was meant to be
Exactly.
a book, and they know that, so they're not ever going to go like, oh yeah, let's just do that 1-to-1. But what I do think that they're going to do is I think that they're just going to take what works and what's fun conceptually out of it, and then hopefully give fans something better, and then they won't lament it.
I'm just going to give you one sentence that sums up Disney Star Wars. The Kenobi series didn't include anything of continuity from the prequels.
Right.
And I'm including Anakin because he wasn't even in the show. I don't care if they de-aged. What's his face? It wasn't Anakin. That was Grandpa Skywalker. There was nothing of continuity in the prequels that needed to be in that show.
You
I'm
ever
not
been
just
on
about
a
cameos,
bender,
but-
Meg? You know, it ages you for a couple of days. You look, your skin looks real. You know, I just think Anakin really partied hard a couple of days. Give him a break.
I'm just saying, go into these shows expecting something very new. I mean, I've been thinking, you know, maybe we'll get Plagueis in the Acolyte or something. I'm now thinking that's never going to happen. And I also watch how they're going to do the Jedi Council, and somehow they're going to make it that Yoda's not there.
Well, I just want to go with what Jason has said several times is they may take, like we saw Mount Tantus, right? Whether it has in it what was in Heir to the Empire or not.
Because
Mount
they save
Tantus-
everything for animation. All this stuff they do it in animation. We're never going to get this stuff in live action.
Well, but I mean, they brought it in, and we know Thrawn is coming in.
Yeah, I
Thrawn
mean,
came
we are
from
getting,
it.
we are getting like Thrawn himself.
That's where he
for
came
what it's
from.
worth.
And maybe not the Katana fleet, right? But what about a fleet of, or some vessels from the Empire that were lost in space out here, and their crews died, and
I mean,
the Night Sisters put the green smoke into them, and now they're walking around like skeletons, like undead. Like,
and if you
what
watch
if something like that?
if
you
you
know?
watch the Malevolence arc from the Clone Wars, Filoni literally takes Thrawn's maneuver, and so, which says something about Filoni's familiarity with the Malevolence. I mean, with Heir to the Empire too. It does say that he is himself is somewhat like that's something where when someone said that to me, I was like, oh yeah, it is. Like, that passed me by. Because, you know, when you're reading about starship maneuvers in a novel, it's kind of, to me, it doesn't play. Like, I don't really like reading about space battles. But he did. So what I think what you're saying, Meg, is completely like, I think you're right though. I think you're ultimately right that, like, we're never gonna get Heir to the Empire.
No.
But we might get, but those little concepts is what I think we could hope for.
And-
But
Yeah,
they use the wrong concepts. They bring in the wrong stuff. I mean, Thrawn is cool, but then again, he's just as much Dave Filoni's as he is Timothy Zahn's at this point, I think. Because it's going to be Rebels Thrawn. You can say that they're the same Thrawn, but they're really not.
I hope
It's
not.
kiddie Rebels Thrawn. I don't know.
Not. I hope not.
But this is how I
have-
think they think. Because
Well, but
Disney's
we-
a business. They're making shows for new people as well as the old people. And
But
they've
here's
proven
the
time and
thing.
time again they care way more about giving us, oh, this could be a cool TV show for people who saw Stranger Things than for, oh, do you remember those books that came out in the 90s?
Yeah. Well, but we have new Thrawn books as well.
But Disney doesn't care about their own canon.
Yeah,
The new Thrawn books are pointless, I think.
You're not wrong.
I think if Filoni had his way, there probably wouldn't have been Thrawn books coming out when he's intending to work with Thrawn. I would have to imagine you wouldn't want that. And if it was a different time, like if he was George Lucas, for instance, Thrawn would have just been off the table. You can't use him. But
Meg, Croatia won on penalties.
Fantastic.
There you go. You're 20.
my
or
actual
whatever.
fear of Thrawn, though, is the fact that, like, Gilroy is somebody who could write a Thrawn. I don't know if Filoni can really write a Thrawn.
Well, that's yeah. You
I don't
guys are
know.
getting
I would love to be wrong, though. I would love to be wrong. It's just the whole thing is about it is he might just be like, it might just be all surface, like the badass threat has returned. Look at that blue guy with red eyes. Oh my god! And then, like that, it might just on screen might be that surface. I don't know.
See, my perspective is this. The Mandalorian is going to do 3 things,
Mhm.
and anything else is just a bonus. It's going to do what you said about the restoration of Mandalore. It's going to do some Thrawn stuff that continues the story of Star Wars Rebels. But ultimately, all of this is just to show us the rise of Snoke and the First Order. That's it. That's what the Mandalorian universe is. There's not going. That's what I think is ultimately going to be the key threads.
I think you're right at the end of the day, but what I could see is Mandalore is in the restoration of Mandalore is in the Mandalorian season 3. Ahsoka finding Thrawn and perhaps this lost fleet of undead soldiers is in Ahsoka. Skeleton Crew explores these undead soldiers and the again, I'm going to call them the Katana Fleet because I don't know what they're going to be called, but maybe they are, maybe they're not. Are coming, and so you, as Jason put, it's like Paul Revere, right? One of by land, two of by sea, and the British are coming. Like they're going to be coming back to say, "There's this threat. It's coming." Mandalorian season 4 is the culmination of those 3 shows. Thrawn is back. He's got his undead armies, and they're going to fight. Mandalorians are going to join with other folks to fight. Out of that may rise Snoke and leading into the First Order. But
I don't see it in that order. I think Skeleton Crew is going to be okay. Yeah, sure. You can maybe have the Katana Fleet, maybe have what Thrawn is doing. I don't deny that, and I do believe there is some force in this new, whatever it's called, the new Beyond. But I think the kids are going to come across what eventually leads to the cloning project that brings Palpatine back. Lucasfilm is obsessed with that story thread.
And what if there's an attempt to kidnap the kids in the First Order transcription to become stormtroopers, which is also something to consider.
I think the Bad Batch is more likely to introduce what's going on at Tantus that leads to Snoke than these live action series. But I guess we'll find out, right? 2023 is going to be exciting because we get the Bad Batch, we get Mandalorian season 3, and Ahsoka. Is Skeleton Crew going to make it into the 2023 schedule, as some have rumored, or is it going to go into 2024?
Bespin said it's absolutely 2023. I think I asked him on Jason's stream.
Yeah, and Bespin, when it comes to industry scheduling stuff, I don't think there's anybody better at guessing and predicting and figuring it out, because he's into so many things. He knows like what else is coming on all this, so he's able to put it together. So if he said that, even if he doesn't have a source saying that, if he said that, I would believe him.
Well, I would say then 2023 will answer a lot of our questions, and we can have fun speculating it and arguing it and debating it in the meantime. And again, say don't get too married to these ideas because they may not come to fruition. Talon Card may not, or a Talon Card type character. Jude Law's character may or may not be a Talon Card type character.
But here's the problem.
May or may not even be there. I don't know.
I think with these, like, just think back to Mandalorian. 8 episodes. Think of the pacing. There is so much. I don't want to use the word filler, but episodes are not packed, and they would have to be packed for all of this stuff to happen. There's going to be like 2 or 3 things, I think, in Mando season 3 that maybe begin to thread this together. I think Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew are probably going to be like the bulk of all of what we're talking about. And then, as you say, it comes together in season 4. And I saw Steven mentioned, how does Boba Fett play into this? It's very simple: selling toys. Boba has no story in this other than to show up and help out every now and then. I'm sorry to be salty, but I don't expect much from Lucasfilm in terms of creating this huge elaborate story like George Lucas did.
I don't really know what to think about season 3 of The Mandalorian actually like playing into this, other than its conclusion of that Mandalore is now united and a force. And I bring up that Mon Mothma has this what was it called, the Military Reduction Act or something like that, where they basically take the military down by 90%. That way some fool can't ever come over, take over, and to become emperor and rule the whole galaxy again, like in a day, with an Order 66 type moment. But but in doing so, when a threat happens, we're kind of like back to that room in Rogue One where like there's an alliance, like let's attack, and everybody's like, I don't know, and nobody will move. Then that's how the First Order rises. But how do they deal with this next threat? If it does go there, then you end up with the Mandalorians are the ones to deal with it. And I think
So
that's
let's lie out. I
how it
want to make sure we tie up a couple other things before we move on from these series, and then the timeline. Let's put it within context of Star Wars timeline. What we're talking about: Mando season 3, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, and Mando season 4 is nowhere close to the sequel. Talk about The Force Awakens. We're still
I don't
20
think
plus
anyone
years.
thinks that. If you think that, you're not a fan.
Somebody
fans
does think that.
fans get confused because they're dumb. I love you guys, but some of you guys are smart.
Well,
But most of you are dumb.
And I mentioned to you guys, my brother told me he actually watched one of my live streams. He says, I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about, right? But it's entertaining. But so sometimes I want to put in some context so that like folks like my brother who may stop in and say,
Listen, in this current season, you just need to know Santa Claus is kind of getting it on with the pirate. That's that's what happened. So nobody knows what you're talking about. So.
So let's just say that these things are happening 20 plus years before The Force Awakens. So when
more than that,
that's what I said. Plus, right, closer to 30.
But close to 30.
Let's say when Thrawn comes back with his fleet to attack or whatever it's going to happen. Because I don't know what's going to happen in Mandalorian season 4. Let's just presume that it's something like that.
Yeah.
If that happens, Rey hasn't been born.
Nope.
Let's be clear. She's not born. And Kylo, depending on the timing, if he's born, he's just a little tyke. Like he's Ben Kenobi. He's just a little Ben Kenobi in swaddling clothes. Like he is not. He's not wielding a lightsaber and causing problems.
Yeah, to contextualize it, when Mandalorian season 1 opens up, he's pretty much being born.
Yeah,
that's pretty much when he's born, right?
Yeah.
It's like
right roughly.
After. Yeah. So he's.
Can I just say another thing? I think the pirate subplot of season 3 is going to take up much more time than we think. As Jason says, all the Mandalore uniting stuff is at the end. But I do think that whole, pirates have invaded Navarro, Grief Karga needs Mando's help. Like, expect more of those kind of things. It's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But don't expect, like, this galaxy clashing, whatever some people have been saying. Like, that's just not the story that they're telling. If you just follow the story they tell, you can enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm with Meg. If I had to bet, what I think we're going to get in the first episodes is that story. Obviously that was confirmed, but I think we're going to have the introduction of other Mandos that play into these things that are both allies and adversaries that will play. And then when we see it all coming together, then we're like, oh, those guys that were hired to rob Navarro or whatever are like on their friends now. I think it's going to work like that.
Yeah. I just want to clarify because there was a rumor. It came out Monday night that these next movies are going to be about the sequel characters, Rey and so on, right? So, and that this big thing with Thrawn being the big bad of the Mandoverse is going to tie into those movies. Not directly. Thrawn's going to be long gone by then.
For all I know, Thrawn is killed in the Ahsoka series, and it's what Thrawn brings with him that lingers,
Maybe, right? Like
think about it though. If he goes out there and he meets these other magical people, and then they might just be like, show us where all this stuff is. You know what I mean, though? And then they might get there and go shank him and say, thanks, bud, and throw him off the side. And now we're here. We're here to mess stuff up. Like we don't really know, but to go and to think that, I mean, for the record, Thrawn, do you just age like us? Because he's dead then. He's going to be dead then. He's going to be like 100 years old.
I think they live to like 200, but
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think
Okay, I
Thrawn is
take it
going to be
back.
alive. And you know what's going to happen? Big prediction: Moff Gideon kills Thrawn. Think about it. It's both like Disney's way of saying, "Hey, you know how much you love this guy in the books? Well, fuck him. You got this guy now." And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with that because I like Moff Gideon. But I'm
Yeah,
sure Gideon's going to kill him because ultimately the First Order has to rise,
right.
and they're not going to avoid that storyline. And they have to explain, well, where's Thrawn and all of that? I triggered Santa.
So it's okay. Let him get his breath, and we'll. But you know what? I think he's gonna. I think the First Order thing and Thrawn. I think they're gonna be in opposition. That's just my prediction, though.
I think so.
I don't think because we don't see Thrawn leading the First Order or a part of it. I would not be surprised if like Thrawn's back and they're like because they set it up really with purpose that people like Gideon are all warlords out there. That there's all these warlording imperial factions, like disparate factions that are warlords, right? Like that was their language
Mhm.
when we first got season 1 of Mando. And then so when Thrawn comes back, like he's going to be like, is he going to be like, why aren't you guys in line? What are you guys doing? So he might even be against them. He might be like, you're coming with me. We're doing this. And they
Well,
might be against them. And yeah.
because Thrawn's ambitions clash with those of Gideon, because the Chiss Ascendancy were all about the threat to the galaxy, and Gideon is like, no, we need Palpatine back, we need Order back after Operation Cinder, and that's going to be the big kind of priority. But then there's the whole big spoiler warning thing that I think Gideon was a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And your scoop is that he's going to be wearing Mandalorian armor. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he reacts to the restoration of Mandalore and how Thrawn plays into that conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gideon looks pretty cool. The armor. I think
Yeah.
it's I also kind of like theorize that it might be a way of allowing them to use Giancarlo Esposito without having him, just like how they do with like if he's ever on another project, he could just voice his character. But I'm not sure if, like I said, I'm not sure if he just wears it, like if he just stole the stuff and puts it on for the fight, that he has with them, or if he's like actually is one, or if that's gonna be like a big reveal or whatever. But they did seem to be teasing it. Did you see that video? Hey, with the actors, where the actors were like kind of teasing that they need to give him a helmet.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So I think that's even further confirmation of that. But yeah, I don't know if they would like, I don't know if Thrawn's going to be the one who like sets up the whole thing, because he's the actual threat. That's what's weird about what I've been in the books. Is like you
Well,
said,
he was never the enemy. He
Mhm.
was part of the Chiss Ascendancy because they're part of a bigger thing to be like. I'm trying to compare it to Star Trek, but then it doesn't really
Mhm.
work in that way. But they see themselves as more intelligent than everyone and kind of are more about the threat to the galaxy. When he worked for the Empire, it was more so he could use the Empire for his own means rather than it being him being loyal to the Empire. And I really hope they do set that very clearly at the start of the show for fans who don't know much about Thrawn, because that was not made clear whatsoever in Star Wars Rebels.
Well, let me ask you this, Meg. Does Thrawn like Palpatine?
No,
So he wouldn't want to bring him back.
not at all. That's why he's in conflict with Gideon, because
Yeah,
Gideon
that's
is
what I
all
was
about
clear.
bringing Palpatine back. But I kind of think that Gideon might have been a Vader sycophant.
Mm-hmm.
He might be like a wannabe Sith,
Right.
because like we've seen Tar Vizsla, like a Sith, a Jedi Mandalorian. What if Gideon's the opposite, a Sith Mandalorian?
Yeah.
But you think Sith? Actually, Sith? I don't know about Sith or
A
not, but
wannabe Sith.
yeah, I saw the question earlier. Should I start with audio of the series we've been talking about? If you're wanting to tie into this time period, I would recommend, if you're going to start an Audible series, to start with the Aftermath novels. Those would be really well informative. And in there, you see that many of these admirals were trying to create their own fiefdoms, and there's a bit of a inner fighting between them to have control of each other's space. And it's kind of just broken. The empire itself is broken into multiple fiefdoms. And what I could see is Thrawn certainly has maybe his, but Gideon specifically, Gideon would be one of these Moffs who has a fiefdom, which includes Mandalore. Whether or not he is a Sith or not, I don't know. But certainly he is a Moff who has a fiefdom that includes Mandalore, is how I would read it. And the Aftermath novels help kind of inform that. Plus, they're just great series. So
I think they've already retconned a lot of Aftermath Empire's End in terms of. I mean, it informed Cobb Vanth, it informs the armor story, but it kind of backtracks with the Book of Boba Fett.
How so?
Well,
wait,
yeah.
how does it do that?
Sorry, I think I triggered Siri. What was your question?
How so? How does it get?
Okay, well, I had a really big problem with the whole Hutt story. You know how Jabba's palace at the time, like in the Aftermath trilogy, had the same Rancor keeper. It's a minor detail, but it's one of those things that shows they didn't care about continuity, because they could have used the same Rancor keeper to train Boba's Rancor, and that could also connect to what was the little guy called in Clone Wars? Rota, the Hutt. Because some people think that the Hutt in the Aftermath books is Rota grown up. I just feel as though it's one of those examples of things that they could easily have tied in, but again, they throw out the books all the time.
Well, I hesitate to go that far. They certainly don't keep the details the same, but the overarching story does seem to be consistent. Whether or not the particulars line up, and the Ahsoka novel is a great one that's been kind of picked apart. The overarching story itself still holds, even though the details don't line up. So I don't think they throw it out. It's just like, we're not going to necessarily hold to the letter of one show or story or book or comic, whatever, to inform, to tell the same.
Well, it's 5 years later, though.
Another.
It's 5 years later, too, right?
Okay, so then why isn't Boba Fett the daimyo in the books?
Isn't it Aftermath like the day after Coruscant kind of falls?
Well, no, because Cobb Vanth gets his armor back.
Yeah.
Cobb Vanth gets Boba's armor from the Sandcrawler in the books as well.
But I don't remember them talking about a daimyo in Aftermath novels.
They don't. That's my point.
So it's just not part of the story. Maybe he is.
I guess so. But do you not think the problem, even with small details, is that fans who read the books and keep that as their headcanon suddenly feel as though they've been robbed of something they were attached to?
Well, I certainly do, but I'm trying to help reconcile it for myself even, right? Because I've read these and
all you have to do is like, okay, so it's like this. Hey, it's Dave Filoni, Robert Rodriguez. It turns out you can't have Machete be the Rancor keeper because we have him in Aftermath. Okay, I'll just tell Star Wars Insider to write a short story that he had a heart attack 2 years after. Yeah, 2 years after. Yeah, I'll tell them. Okay, bye. So done, fixed. Like that's I think what they're dealing with that kind of stuff.
And I just don't think they care to make the details line up. But like Ahsoka and Maul in what we saw in the Clone Wars episode 7 doesn't match what Ahsoka and Maul in the Ahsoka novel. Although Ahsoka and Maul did meet, Ahsoka and Maul did have a interaction. The details of that interaction are different, but there was an interaction, and it happened on Mandalore.
The frustrating thing is that the Andor series focused on every single detail from Rogue One. Yeah. It's like they can do it, and they do it selectively. The Bad Batch is the same. The Bad Batch was very true to the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
my
saltiness.
No, I'm with Meg. My whole thing is like I would read the books because I want to get insight to where the TV shows and movies are going with this stuff. I would want to know the context, but then we see that it doesn't matter. They're not really gonna. They're gonna bend it if they need to for the screen, which makes sense. But that's what they're going to do. So what it tells me is you have a canon that people care about the canon because of the relation to screen, but then that doesn't matter. So there's actually absolutely no point to reading these books, following any of the comics, if you want to be informed about what's going to happen on screen. Because at the end of the day, they're just going to write a new sentence that goes, well, you thought that, but it turned out to be this after. And then so it's because it's yes, and then storytelling, and then
right,
and then as opposed to, so that's just how it's going to be, and that's why I don't read that stuff anymore. That's why I stopped for myself.
You
I just read something else.
Back in the day, I checked out a reading really quickly because I read Heir to the Empire and a couple other books as well, and then since then I've gone back and read some more Legends stuff more recently. But I never cared because it just wasn't canon. Never was. And that needs to be stated over and over again because people say, well, Disney bought Lucasfilm and they decanonized that stuff. No, it was never canon to begin with. And the reason I didn't read them is because I just simply didn't care about reading some not Star Wars stories. Like, I just didn't care. So now I read them, and I thought that I was getting like canon stories, and what I'm learning is it's more like what it was than I thought it was. Right? Like
I think
fun stories. They inform the universe. They're still take place within the universe, but they may not be accurate.
Yeah, I think what it actually amounts to is they're not going to let them do things in the books that they wouldn't want to do on screen, or that would be offensive to what they would do on screen, which in the end keeps the writing more in line with the universe. Who was that guy? Like, what was his name? Like Goru or Waru? Remember that stuff? It was like Q from Star Trek. Oh, but it was just like ridiculous stuff. And so I think that like that's ultimately what it ends up being, is that it like you need to make things that work in our universe that we would use, that do comply, that do fit. And so it's probably better for publishing itself if that's what you're like a primary fan of. But if you're trying to follow all of it, I just don't think it's worth. I don't think it's worth it. I would. There's just better things to read with your time than for me, anyways.
Unless you just enjoy reading these stories, and then enjoy it for what it is, and just don't get too married to it again, right? So I want to tie this up and touch base on some of the other stories from the week.
There's some good ones too.
There are some good ones, but my computer locked up, shut down, rebooted, and all of it's
gone. I'm Star Wars Jake again. It made me Star Wars Jake again when we came back.
But so this does not happen in time in the sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy characters aren't going to appear with Thrawn. It doesn't line up. We got a good 20 plus year gap to deal with. And for Thrawn to come back and Rey somehow be fighting him means he'd have to stay in this other space for 20, 25, 30 years after Ahsoka finds him.
I mean,
and that's just not going to happen.
It's just so weird. Like, how would people even think that would be like, hey, we're making this a big point in our TV show, but we're not ever going to deal with it in the TV show. Like, that's not how
a lot of
works.
People aren't familiar with the timeline enough to be able to tie it in. And so I just want to clarify.
Should we talk about Jedi Survivor?
Yes, we should talk about Jedi Survivor. And Meg, you covered it in your stream a lot and Jason, you did as well. We're just catching up here. Before we talk about that, the Bad Batch Season 2 trailer dropped earlier in the week. Very exciting, and it's the next show to come up. So let's just kind of maybe go chronologically. Bad Batch Season 2, the trailer is on Disney Plus with the Bad Batch in the extras. So, it's not like... Well, and I did see that they do have it highlighted on the main banner now. So if you flip through the banner, you'll find it there. You don't have to dig as deep to find it as we originally did. Super exciting trailer. There's some fun things coming up. And if you were to boil it down to what are you most excited for in Bad Batch season 2, whether or you're not excited for anything. What would you most be excited for in the Bad Batch season 2?
It's kind of difficult to say because they haven't told us enough about the story, just how it connects to what's going on with the Empire at this time. I'm very excited for Gunji to see another Jedi, and also maybe Luminara and Julie on Kashyyyk.
Oh, that's possible. That's possible. Absolutely.
How about you, Jason?
Yeah, I'm happy to see Gunji again, and then like the Cody Rex stuff is exciting. It's a weird show for me because I really like Tales of the Jedi a lot. Like that was really like my speed for the animation stuff. Like it's what I hoped Clone Wars would do all the time, that kind of stuff. And so I'm gonna watch it and enjoy it. I know I'm gonna have fun, but I don't know if I'm like over the moon about it, you know.
I'm excited to see where Omega's story is going to evolve, because I firmly believe she's going to make it to the Mandoverse era at some point, whether it's Mandalorian season 4 or some other show. I'm convinced she's going to make it. So I'm curious to see her character grow, where it goes, and see if they continue anything with I lost her name. Boba Fett's
Fennec Shand.
Yeah, Fennec. And so I'm curious to see if Fennec continues to be tied in. If Boba meets Omega, Omega meets Boba, anything like that. I'm curious to see where this goes. And
it costs between $6,000 and $20,000 to make one of those character models. So Fennec Shand will probably be back.
I hope so. And
probably.
I'm dying to see what's going to happen with this Mount Tantus thing. And will it have any of the elements from Heir to the Empire? If it does, what? I kind of don't think there's going to be a lot, but I do think there'll be some. And
I reckon that Grogu is on Mount Tantus.
Yes,
because Ahsoka's like his mind goes dark, and then for all those years, I think he's being held somewhere.
Maybe he didn't want anybody reading his memories from when he was living that pimp life, you know?
Maybe.
Maybe.
But we know Nala Se is there.
But right? What if the Bad Batch are the ones who deliver him to oh bugger it. Alvala 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a theory that the Nick-2 gang was trying to save him and not actually like kill him, because like IG-11's trying to like kill him, and the Nick-2 gang has Grogu and they don't like kill him, right? Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah.
Like so like I always thought that was kind of interesting. I was wondering if they'll do something with that.
Well, here's a hotter take than that. I don't think the Nikto gang knew they had him. I think they're just pirates that had a bunch of stuff and they never bothered to open the egg.
Yep. I agree with you.
Because if they knew that Grogu was in there, he wouldn't be in a garage. They would have sold him off. They would have done something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So could we see a Ahsoka in Bad Batch season 2?
Yes.
Possible. There's a lot of things. So I am super excited for Bad Batch season 2. And for me, it's primarily seeing what they're going to do with Omega. Will she become the new Mandalore? I don't know. I doubt it, but
no.
After Mandalorian season 4, because I think the next Mandalore, the ruler of Mandalore, is going to be Bo-Katan.
Yeah, it's going to be Bo-Katan, and I don't think that she's really going to have any real connection to it. I mean, Kamino is where she feels like her home is. So it would almost be like this. It would be the same mentality as Rex or Cody going to try to become the next
Boba.
Mandalore. You know,
I don't think Boba wants to be the next Mandalore.
But he has more of a connection through Jango, through the lineage of the chain code. Like it's my heritage. Like he has more of that than they do, though. Like they don't. I don't think they view themselves as being Mandalorian at all.
It always bothers me when people think like when people try and say that that clones are going to be part of the Mandalore story. As you say, Boba Fett's definitely got a higher chance because he cares about Django and Justin Muriel and, the lineage.
Yeah.
But I don't think Boba Fett cares about Mandalore in the slightest.
Right.
It's kind of like, I have ancestors from certain places. I have no interest in being part of the royal family over there.
So what you're telling me, Meg, is Rex is not going to be the next Mandalore?
No, I think there's a better chance that Fennec Shand shows up in Jurassic Park.
Wait, are you saying as an American, I'm kind of a joke for wearing a kilt right now? No.
I think you wear kilts just as an excuse to let your bollocks hang.
Yeah. Air conditioning.
So after that comes Mandalorian season 3. Not a lot of new news on Mando season 3 this week, right? But then comes Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor, we saw the full gameplay kind of preview last night.
Jedi on an island. Who will make it and get the 1 million credits? Jedi Survivor. No? Is that not what it's about? I didn't see the trailer. Sorry. No, I'm kidding.
It's a great trailer.
No, I
tribe has voted you off.
Yeah. Cal Kestis, you're going home.
I love the trailer. I think it was epic, and we saw Regendai, one of the High Republic tank guy. One of his bodyguards is a Gendai, and a fun fact about them is they don't have bones. They use their armor as a skeleton. So defeating that guy, like the really big purple guy, is going to be probably the most difficult challenge of the game.
Well, you do see a High Republic Jedi in the trailer wearing the gold.
Well, the guy in the tank was imprisoned in the Bacta tank since the High Republic, and he says, "I was betrayed by the one I trusted the most," which could be a Jedi Master, it could be a lover, it could be his Padawan.
Yeah, absolutely could be. And, I mean, there's so many things that it could be. Curious to learn it. As you guys know, I don't play the games, but again, just to put this in some context, Jedi Survivor takes place roughly the same time as the Bad Batch. There's some time difference, but it's real close.
No, Kenobi.
Sorry, I think it's closer to Kenobi.
Kenobi.
It's Bad Batch season 2 is 6 months after 19 BBY. So
5 years
Jedi,
after that.
But
Omega would already be in her 20s.
Bad Batch season 1 does overlap with Fallen Order.
Only the flashbacks at the beginning, I think.
Okay.
Literally when Cal Kestis is a Padawan.
Right.
In those flashback scenes.
Well, and when he ends up going to Braca.
It's 5 years after Order 66, Fallen Order.
Yeah, we end up with Cal, and he's been in hiding for like 5 years. And he's just like, he's pretending to be like or he's a scrapper at that point. And he's like him and his buddy. And then he meets, gets into the mix again. And then you have that whole story from Fallen Order. And then this new one, Jedi Survivor, is 5 years after that, which puts it 10 years after Order 66, which puts it where Star Wars Kenobi also took place. So it's in that same, it's very much in that same time.
Perfect.
And Bad Batch is just like right after Order 66. We're not even like, we're almost parallel to it when that series starts. So
excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you. Irresponsible speculation time as it goes with Jedi Survivor. You going to throw in any Inquisitors?
Absolutely. I would think Inquisitors might be a given, but not in the same way. It'd be quite cool if we saw Reva
That's
show
what
up.
I was going to ask next. Will Reva make it?
I think
Fifth brother?
Something they omitted from this trailer that we saw in the first one is the senator, the Powan senator, who steals Cal Kestis' lightsaber on Coruscant. So I think there could be like a bigger story with the Empire than just Inquisitors. But you'd think with a Fallen Order game, they would absolutely include the Fifth Brother and some others, because the Fifth Brother is one of the main antagonists in Jedi Battle Scars, which is the book that connects the two games.
Yes.
Bespin Bulletin just told me that he dropped a new story. I don't know if you want to hit it now or not, but
I will
he just dropped a new
try
story.
to do that. Bespin Bulletin. I'll hit refresh.
Patty
My
Jenkins'
computer
Rogue
is-
Squadron script was a mess.
No, this is his exclusive though. Star Wars: The Acolyte is filming at Brecon Beacons National Park in Moore in Wales.
Oh, that was
But
earlier.
he's been following this one for a little bit. I didn't know he just told me he finally posted it. So
Yeah. So here's the most recent story on his site right now. But so he's had a couple. One is the Acolytes filming at Brecon Beacons National Park. And
that's where they filmed Willow. Basically, it's the Willow set exteriors.
Oh, and then this is Patty Jenkins' Star Wars Rogue Squadron script was reportedly a mess. Let me hit refresh again just to see if it's still the most recent.
Yeah. It's the other one. He just the way he wrote it right now is I thought he just posted it right now, but he posted it, I guess, earlier. Meg already saw it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Which this is some news that worth talking about, but let's come back to it. In just a moment.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's
for
okay.
Old news.
That's all right. So Acolyte Set Pic leaks. We had some of those Andor Set Pic leaks as well. And we shared some of those that you posted on your site already. But there's some great pictures here again on Bespin's page where you get to see. This is the guy from Squid Game? Is that right?
Yeah, Jung Jai.
Lee Jung-jae.
And he does not look like he's wearing the High Republic kind of garb. It's this more traditional Jedi robes to me.
It's like sort of in between, right? It's not the white that we see in the covers of the books and stuff, but it's like a yellow. So it's not as dark as what we get in the prequels, but it's some sort of in between.
Got a Padawan there.
And right there, wait, go up right there. Kneeling down at the bottom is what's her name from Bodies. That's the main character right there. Kneeling.
This lady here?
Yeah.
Amandla
Stenberg. Yeah.
That's Amandla there.
Yeah, that's her right there. And so like I'm just speculating because obviously don't know, but I'm speculating that this might be like really early on, or maybe even like a flashback. But she's also wearing green when everybody else wears yellow, and I don't know if that's it, because remember the plot synopsis.
Yes,
says that she's an ex-Padawan. So is this when she's still a Padawan or when she's an ex-Padawan?
I see.
That's what I'm wondering. Also, go up to the Squid Game guy. He has a robot hand. Do you notice that he has a robot hand?
No. Looky
yeah,
there.
I noticed he has a robot hand. Yeah, if you zoom in on, if you don't know if you want to, but yeah, if you zoom in on, you can see he has a robot hand.
It does. I did.
Is that not a bracelet?
I thought it was a robot hand. Maybe it's a bracelet.
No, I think you might be right. That looks
bracelet
like
or robot hand
to me.
Yeah.
I think robot hand is right. You see it carrying up onto the back of his hand.
Yeah,
here.
I think Jason's right.
Yeah, cool.
Does he have a glove on the other hand? I guess that's the other question.
Well, we can't see
we can't see. Dang.
behind the tree there.
Wait. Go up. Go up to the other one. We can see his hand right there, though. That's his left hand, right?
This is the same
is it gloved?
left hand. There.
Is it gloved
it's
there?
Okay. It's under the robe, right? His right hand is the one we can't see behind the tree. And then here you can't see, like, it's almost in because he's holding his cloak up, like right over here, but it's just off. So, yeah, can't tell. Can't tell about that right hand. Look, is this a lightsaber?
No, it's a bow.
It's a bow.
If you notice,
I see. I see. It goes all the way up here.
Yeah, look at her on her other hip. She has a quiver of arrows, if I may say so myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
We get a
This is a fancy lady, by the way. This is a fancy lady.
this
Well,
one.
I don't. Yeah, I think that's the fancy lady. So she has like jewelry on, and she doesn't. So, like, I think like the best speculation is that these Jedi are protecting the fancy lady,
Ah,
because
and
there's people with bows, but Stenberg, I think Stenberg might have the bow too. I can't remember now. No, that's not.
yeah,
That's
this is a bow right here.
another person with a bow,
But
and
this,
they're not wearing
this
Jedi
is
costumes.
This is a speeder bike right here. You can see there's the hand controls in the front, and then you got the foot pedal back here.
And I'm with Peter Griffin, Hulkamania Teen Wolf, 100%. That's what I was saying. He's like, I want a keg of beer. So
there's a bow.
yeah,
There you can see over her shoulder, and there's the quiver.
yeah.
The arrows in it. We like bows here because there's another one. Quiver.
I want Boba Fett to capture that woman, kill her, and then wear that braid that she has going.
These are pictures for the Acolyte. This is Acolyte photos. This makes me think we're some sort of agrarian farming. This looks to me like something that's used for harvesting. You've got a little belt-driven thing here.
I think that's the front of it. I think that's the front of it.
Yeah, I think
not,
this is the front.
not connected to it, and it's going to be like.
Wait, is that used in the actual show?
Yeah,
I just assumed because we're filming in Wales, they had to use some farmer's land and tell him he can have his thing back later.
Yeah, I think this is a set piece.
Yeah, I think that front piece is going to set onto it, and then it will drive, and the character will stand on it, and it'll be like a little thing of transportation. That's my guess, though.
I think it goes down rows of some sort of harvest where they're bringing it up on a conveyor as they go down the row. I don't know.
Lucasfilm do everything to not include lightsabers.
This doesn't look fast. Let's put it that way.
No.
Right. So there's that story. So set photos from the Acolyte, extremely exciting. And Meg, you were talking about it earlier. Some of the talk that perhaps we were going to see Plagueis or maybe a very young Plagueis or
No, it's not happening.
Yeah, you don't think so?
I think the leaks are false.
Oh, that would be sad.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't like Plagueis though, Santa.
I don't like the book. I have nothing against him by concept, but the book doesn't inform his character.
Can someone tell me what's wrong with this Wookiee? There's something about this Wookiee that looks really off to me, and I can't really put my finger on what it is.
Well, you can see his eyes is a part of it.
It's the mouth. Like it looks like a human mouth almost.
Did you say because he has eyes? I'm pretty sure Chewie had eyes.
No, because you can't see his eyes.
Oh,
you can see Chewie's eyes.
No, I know
this guy's
Chewie's eyes. I'm saying you can't see.
He
this
said,
guy.
"What's wrong with this guy?" He said, "You can't see this guy's eyes."
And because it's like that. That's the whole thing with like we were talking about yesterday on my show. Like Rob was mentioning it. Like when you see like Batman out and they're filming it, with the motorcycle scene with Catwoman, everyone was like, "That looks like crap. That looks so terrible." Then you see the movie and it looks rather good. And so this could be a case of that where I don't think these costumes look really high quality to me. Like I'm not really like that jazzed about some of it, but with the right director of photography and stuff like that, it could look really good. But after Willow, I don't know what to expect.
I agree with you, Jason. And I said it in my video today. I said there's no production value on these photos. They're just set photos. Yeah, there's no lighting. Right. There's no sets. There's nothing yet. So
right. Yeah. Let's wait till we see some like post-production footage. So Harry and the Hendersons, this is exactly what I thought. I said, that looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. And I've heard people complain about the top knot. Like,
what people don't understand is that like this is going to tell the story of Perrin and Perrin's family. Yeah. And so we start here with this Wookiee man bun. And then he ends up saving Perrin's great grandfather. And then from there on out, they all wear the man bun. and that's how we get Perrin. I mean, come on, guys, it all connects, it all rhymes.
Well, these are shots from again. My computer finished opening up everything that closed.
Is that the guy from the tank?
Yes, it's a flashback.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here he's wearing the High Republic kind of garb. There. So
see, which doesn't really line up necessarily with what we're getting in that other the show that we're seeing right now. Like I'm just saying, like, not that they all have to wear the same things, but it goes to show you, like, you just got to roll with it, right? I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I know Theory made a big mess about using a lightsaber as resistance and going down the wall. That's not how lightsabers work. I'm waiting to hear people complain about that.
Well, what you have to know is
do that in the Phantom Menace.
Use a lightsaber like to slow himself down in a fall.
No, he did that hole on the Neimoidian ship.
Yeah,
in the opening scene of Phantom Menace,
and it has resistance. He doesn't just go and then kick it through. He's like, come on, baby, come on, cutting it open, man, cutting it open.
Meg, I think I heard you call this like a wampa, or was that somebody else that said this?
It's a forest wampa.
It's a swampa.
Yeah, there are various kinds of wampa in canon. And someone said you don't think it's a flashback. It must be a flashback because when he gets out the tank, he's not got his High Republic robes. And if that guy is a Jedi, the bodyguard, he can live for a very, very long time.
Yeah, here we
see him. Because Jedi are mostly immortal. This is the thing. They don't have mortality. You can Wikipedia it if you don't believe me.
There's the dude in the tank. And here we see him like crawling out of the water. Doesn't look like the tank here.
You know what he says right there? He says, "Could I get a hand?" I get it. Yeah.
Jason. so there he is.
I think
in the
that
water.
was a secondhand joke.
So those are the scenes. The other news, I guess, is this Patty Jenkins thing.
The script was janky.
So Wonder Woman 3 was canceled, right? We just saw that news, or maybe it was canceled. Now they're saying, Dawn says, "Did I see your question? Did I see your question, Dawn? Did you send it to me, DM? Let's see, where is it? Where's your question, Dawn?
Dawn,
look for it. I don't see it.
The answer is yes. Yes.
Did you see the question?
No,
I didn't see the question.
Dawn, did you guys see my question? I saw that question. So technically, I saw your question.
Was it about Gungi? Because that Wookiee is not Gungi. Gungi won't be born for another 300 years.
Oh, this tall Wookiee is it Gungi? No, in the second in the Bad Batch, that should be Gungi, right?
Yes. Gungi's born during the clone, right before the Clone Wars, and then becomes a Jedi, or becomes a Padawan, about to become a Padawan during the Clone Wars, and goes into the Crystal Cave. But this is 100 years or so before that.
Right?
So this is like Gungi's grandpa or something.
Unless Wookiees age backward.
Well, I guess it could be. Chewbacca's 200. Chewbacca's 200, so this could be like Gungi's dad.
And you know who else is alive during the High Republic? Black Chrysanthemum.
Black Chrysanthemum. Oh, sure he is.
And so is Yaddle, Operancisis, Yarael Poof, Yoda,
Maz Kanata.
And watch them avoid all of those.
Maz Kanata may make it.
Oh no.
I'm just saying.
They're going to do Maz Kanata, aren't they, instead of Yoda?
I think so. I'm not joking. I really do.
Wait,
think Maz
Dawn,
Kanata.
Another channel called that guy Gungi.
Yeah, they're wrong.
It can't be a Star Wars channel.
No, because Gungi, the Wookiee that we see in the Acolyte photos is definitely not Gungi because it's hundreds of years before, or
Santa,
more than 100.
How does time work? Sorry.
Depends. Are you using the World Between Worlds?
Right. This isn't that hard. I mean, I'm not blaming Don. Somebody told Don that, but the people saying that.
You shouldn't listen to whoever told you that.
This
Yeah.
one's
About
this
anything.
Wookiee's from Seattle. Is
Grungy.
grungy.
Uh,
So Rogue Squadron. You want to look at Bespin's article? See what he says.
I find this like whole thing really interesting because there's like this rumor that Patty basically sent back what like the Wikipedia page for character arc to the executives. And then there's this other rumor that her script was just like written on a few pieces of paper. Like, and they were like in shambles. Like, what is this? And then there's the rumor that so there's two stories here. One is either Hollywood is character assassinating her because she got snippety with them, or Patty Jenkins is crazy. Which I don't know which one it is.
I see Patty Jenkins being dragged through the mud a lot by the usual suspects, so we know who those people are.
Yep.
But she is talented. Even if you didn't like all of her films, I'm sorry, but she's a talented person in Hollywood. Like I very much doubt she did that. I think a lot of people are just trying to drag her.
But also, I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm always wary of that. Like I don't want to be I like Frankenstein, not the people with the pitchforks. That's the way I like to look at things. But it's like she does Monster, then she doesn't do a movie for 10 years. She does some like Arrested Development, a couple of TV shows here and there. Why? And that's just like a real question I have. Does she have a problem getting things in development? That's something that, you know what I mean? She might be, because she's clearly a good director. Maybe she's a good director, not good in development, which is
let me stop with a couple other notes first. Cleopatra, apparently she stepped away from it to focus on Rogue Squadron. Now we're hearing Wonder Woman 3 is likely gone.
And Wonder Woman 1 she didn't write. Snyder pretty much wrote that and she directed it. Wonder Woman 2 she did and it was junk. She's a weird, I can't figure her out. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a stance.
I'm just trying to cover some timeline here.
Yeah.
So Wonder Woman 3 may or may not be dead. There's still some confusion about it.
It's dead. It's dead. It's dead.
That's the thought.
Yeah.
So if Cleopatra is dead or she's away from it, I'm not saying it because I think Cleopatra is still moving on, but without her, Wonder Woman 3 is done, and then the folks over at
Snyder?
Who is it? No, that released the story that Rogue Squadron was actually going to come out. LRM, yeah, LRM online was reporting that Rogue Squadron was actually going to come out in 2024.
It's impossible.
Which seems highly suspect, to say the least.
Well,
it's impossible.
Actually, I played the clip in my video. They said it could start in 2024 production, and the belief is that Bob Iger might want to use fragments of that for the sequel of the 2025 movie, which is way more likely than Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron's happening in 2 years.
Yeah. Because like I was when somebody said that to me, I was like, they would literally have to like stop production on Acolyte and Andor 2 and be like, we're taking your studio space, because where else where are they going to get that from? You know.
At the end of the day, it looks like Patty's schedule may be opened up to do Rogue Squadron.
I think the ship has sailed for her though on that. I think
so, because that's the other thing is like people are reading tea leaves about Rogue Squadron, and I never saw anything that definitively said flat out Rogue Squadron's dead. In fact, you had said before that look, it's being put on hold. Nobody ever said it was canceled. They're just not moving forward with it.
It was never like canceled, but it sounds like it's totally backburnered into the next decade at this moment. It's what it sounds like. What I'm trying to say is if you want to bet against it, like heavily bet against it happening.
Well, you had reported, because there was some other things going on, that Chapek had kind of said, put all your energy into Disney Plus.
Iger started it, and JPEG continued it.
Okay, and now there's some word that Iger is saying, put your energy into theatrical releases.
And
that
that's
they're
not
kind of reversing track on this.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy that exactly. Because that seems to be like we're diverting resources. I don't think they're diverting resources. There's so many shows that are still going on and things that are going into like Disney Plus. If there's any truth to it, it's get your ass in gear with live action films now. It's time to get going back on it. But it doesn't, that messaging doesn't ring true with the reality of what they were already doing, which was exactly that. So it's almost like somebody noticed, oh, they're making movies with Lindelof. Oh, Iger said it. Iger said, but the Lindelof stuff happened back when started when JPEG was.
Well, the one thing that does
JPEG
seem
hadn't
clear,
burned it down yet. Yeah,
they've removed the gate filter, so to speak, that said you go make whatever you're going to make. We'll take a look at it, and then we'll decide whether it goes to streaming service or theatrical release. You just focus on making the thing. We'll decide the delivery mechanism for it. That has been stripped out of Disney's infrastructure. So now, like, movies are set to be movies, shows are set to be shows, and they have that context from the get-go. And I don't know how well that strategy was ever fully implemented, or if it was just something they were trying to do.
Well, JPEG was like deleting whole teams of creatives and changing it to being the bean counters who were going to be the ones who were like picking how creatives were going to move forward, and then the creatives were going to have to deal with it. The one thing that he did say is he's putting it back in the creatives' hands. So that way the creators have really good ideas, because he believes that good ideas are going to make money, as opposed to people who the bean counters are going to figure out how to make money, because they're not. If that was the case, Michael Eisner would be the best thing that ever happened to Disney, you know?
Well, let me ask this other question then, because another story that came out this week is how much Disney Plus is losing money, like over $1 billion or something like that, right? Will there be a kind of leveling of budgets for Disney Plus series to get that in line, or is this still a loss leader just to grab people in? We know that combined between ESPN, Disney Plus, and Hulu, they're up, right?
Mm-hmm. Supposedly. That kind of stuff it's always funny accounting and with these streaming services and how they say what's a loss, what's a gain. And it, like, one of the things I was looking into that I saw was that it money, like, for instance, put into The Mandalorian season 3, which was like $150 million at this point, from what I understand, something like that. That's part of the loss. That's money that hasn't been recouped yet. That's the way I understand this worked. I could be wrong. But I looked at this because what I was curious about is when you look at all of these shows, like, look at how many Marvel shows there are. Look at how many Star Wars shows they're making at this very moment, which is like 3.5. It's like, and a Droid Story, which was doing mocap, all that stuff. That stuff that they can't account for a return on. That's an investment in the future of the streaming service. That costs money. So that took down from the actual profit. And so I don't know how they do the accounting for it, though. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. When they're down $1 billion, we could literally just go through right now and talk about being down $1 billion just from what's in production. So what does that mean?
Right.
Is it treading water? Is it really that far behind? Are they about to become HBO? Or is it simply that they've put a lot of expensive stuff that's going to give them years of profits, and that was the goal.
Right.
That's what I'm not pretending to be smart enough to understand that stuff, because I don't.
And for the record, I count more than 3.5 just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And that's just in the Star Wars space. To your point, not only do they
each
have
of those is at
Marvel,
least $100 million.
Yeah.
Like 500 million just in Star Wars right there. So if it's down $1 million, it's like $500 million.
Well, and how much money are they making from now using the volume to lease out to other entities, other companies, other things to do work in the volume, whether it's a Toyota commercial or, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was
There's
like
a revenue stream that now has been generated from a thing.
yeah.
So it was an investment to build, and now it's a revenue stream. Have they recouped the money of building the technology in the volume at this point? I don't know. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know how much they've made. How much are they leasing it out the space for?
Well, but it depends on how you look at it too. Like Mandalorian was sort of the first thing that really invested in it super heavy, but then it ended up being used on Avatar, which is going to generate a ton of money, and it being used in shows like Loki and most of the Marvel shows have used it to some extent. So all of that stuff, it's sort of like how do you put that on a list and say this is a Star Wars loss or this is a Disney loss or a Disney Plus loss, when all of these things are working together? There's that synergy between all of these different things to some extent to make Disney profitable. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And so,
but grifters are going to try to make you feel one way or another about each of these things. And
there is
if you're running a YouTube show, you probably don't know what you're talking about when it comes to this stuff. That's most of the time that's true. Maybe not Santa. The rest of us.
There is a narrative. There is a narrative, and that's what I'm just trying to kind of skirt around without being like confrontational towards anybody. Just to say, hey, they lost some money. Now, obviously, Apple's going to buy Disney, and then they're going to fix Star Wars. Because
I get all of my stock advice from people who wear masks. That's just all I'm going to say.
Oh, well. So, Rogue Squadron.
And remember that the grifters are the most rewarded on this platform.
It's crazy. It's frustrating. It's infuriating and disheartening, right? Like,
Very.
What is this world? So, Rogue Squadron. Is it happening? Is it not happening? What's going on? It's just a short take, TLDR at the end of the day. What do you say?
I say no. I also think that if there's any truth to that letter she sent with the character, it's not Josh Trank. Josh Trank who really melted down, but it's a very professional version of Josh Trank, I think, if that's true. And I'm wondering if that's going to have ripples for her with these studio films.
And Meg, what do you think? Rogue Squadron happening, not happening? What do you think?
No. I'm going to say no.
Sad. I hope it does. But
I hope it does, but I'm saying I don't think it will.
I think it will eventually, but it might not be Patty Jenkins' film. I mean, like the concept.
And it might not be called Rogue Squadron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fair enough. We have a Mike Porter dad joke to get to, but I'll go ahead and answer this question, and I'll bring up another point. There's a couple other. See if we can do some rapid fire kind of stuff. HBO Max and Discovery. What's it going to become? HBO Discovery.
It's becoming
Maximum. I don't know.
No, it's going to become a tab in the Discovery app called Max, which is so terrible. You think of Skinamax when you hear Max. Cinemax was always the second tier HBO thing. HBO for years has been the gold standard for quality, not only for cable itself, but for actual production. That Zaslav guy, he has rocks for brains. He's going to go down as a legendary moron in the big history of things. He should have stuck to reality TV. They never should have bought HBO. It made no sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if it just all ends up with them selling all of this stuff off in the long run. Like, I think he's a moron.
Okay. All right. Real quick, I made a change to my Patreon page. I pinned the Patreon only live stream questions. So if you're a member of our Patreon and you'd like to ask questions that we answer here on the stream, you can find that in the Patreon. It's pinned. And once we have addressed a question, I'm going to delete it from there so that the questions that are listed in that pinned message will be the current ones to discuss. So if you would like to participate in the stream that way, You don't have to buy super chats. Just for $1 a month, you can become a Patreon supporter, or for $5 or $10 a month, whatever fits your budget and the support you'd like to provide the channel. That would be great. So I don't see any Patreon questions right now, but I want to bring up this other story, but just to be consistent to some degree, and to follow up on Andor. Andor, these lag by about a month. The Nielsen ratings, and in the streaming service under original content, Andor is still Disney Plus's top-rated property, and this goes back to November 7th to 13th, so it doesn't include the conclusion yet, but it has 420 million minutes of watch time, which pales when you compare it to the top 3, Manifest, The Crown, and Love is Blind, all on Netflix, which are all binge model where you can watch the entire thing. So it's the question is, over the coming weeks, will Andor continue to grow in cumulative watch time, or is it done? Right. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Andor jump up to number 1 on this list any time soon, especially with the size of Disney Plus. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Andor hanging on, just being like not a number 1, but like a number 10, like for a while. I think that's what's going to happen, because people I know, I don't know, this is just my personal sample of people. I keep meeting people, like friends in real life, like, hey, I started watching Andor, and like, oh, that one's really good. Like, that one's really good. And so I think it's going to kind of get the word of mouth, and I think it's just going to kind of like exist. You know what I mean? Like going to keep going and be like, oh, okay, it's worth it for them. I think it's definitely, like, in the big picture, people want it to be like greatest hit. Star Wars is number 1, baby. But in reality, like, this is a prestige show. This is a show that shows we can do something prestigious.
I think it will continue to get cumulative hours for quite some time. Meg, any thoughts on the watch of and the watch hours for Andor?
No, not really.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'm still watching it. I'm not rewatching Willow, but I'm rewatching. I'm rewatching Andor a lot.
That's a good point too. I think the rewatchability of Andor, it might be the highest of any Star Wars property to date.
For me, by far it is.
Yeah, by
far. Like, obviously in my 40s, but it's for me it is. Yeah, easily.
And Matt Risman says, so many people want to talk about Andor I ran to on my recent cruise. I did a Santa Claus event down in Cincinnati, Ohio, and our friend Dawn Basham brought her mom for her mom's birthday. I got to meet her mom on her birthday, and she brought her daughter, and we had a great visit. But at that Santa Claus event, people were asking me about Andor because I told them I'm a Star Wars nerd, and I talk about this. They're like, "Oh, let's talk about Andor." So it's definitely out there. I think it will grow. And look, there were some discussion whether some set pictures from Andor season 2 that have leaked this week as well. We're not going to go into them. We've already gone long for the day, but you can find those out there.
On bestmanbulletin.com.
On Bestman Bulletin. Meg, your thoughts on the Andor season 2 photos that leaked?
I think they look quite cool. I think there's a radar laser cannon, I think it was, from The Empire Strikes Back. Maybe Ferrex, maybe Yavin.
Maybe both.
Maybe both.
Or they're just being used, like they're not isolated to only, say, Yavin, or only to a particular place. They're in universe. They could be used anywhere, right? So we'll see. Like, and I don't want to get too deep into it. We're 2 hours into the show. We have a Mike Porter dad joke.
All right.
And it's a Star Wars one. It's so here we go. What was the name of Vader's cantina?
I don't know.
Oh, the Darth Star. The Darth Star.
I really don't get it. I don't get it.
Darth Vader. Darth Star Cantina.
Okay. I still don't get it. I'm too dumb.
Darth sounds like death. I don't know.
So how's the Death Star a cantina?
The Darth Star is a cantina. It's a play on Death Star, Darth Vader.
You've lost me on this one, Mister.
Hey, I'm doing virtual Santa visits. I've done those before. You can see that's been in the scroller the whole show, and my schedule is filling up very, very full. If you would like to do a virtual visit with me as Santa, you can find it on these links that are in the scroll below, or hit me up on Discord. Send me a DM on Twitter, whatever the case might be. Reach out to me, and I will get you on the. I'll get you on the schedule. We'll work it in, right? Mike Porter says it's hard to come with the joke. All right, it's right. It's hard to come up with them, but yesterday's was better. And you guys should be following Mike Porter on Twitter. Come to speak of Twitter, and to find his Twitter account, you can see it in the description of this of all my videos, but in this video here as well. So, Mike Porter's dad jokes, I appreciate them. I thought it was good. So, who cares?
Is there like a bar called like the North Star or something? That's what I just don't. I don't get that part. I just don't understand it. I'm just not getting the reference or something.
It's a cantina. It's a bar. What's Darth Vader? If Darth Vader had a bar,
it would just be called the Darth Star.
Name it. He's going to just name it the Darth Star.
Okay. I thought it was referencing like some other like popular bar title or something. Okay.
No, it's just that. Yeah. He had a name of cantina. He's on. His name. Yeah.
All right.
Don't dig too deep. Hey, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today for 2 hours. It was a really long show, and it's just so nice to get a break from the real world. We know a lot of people have a lot of things going on, and a lot of it's very difficult. And the same is true for me. I'm very anxious for 2022 to come to an end. My wife had some appointments this morning, and there's some concerns. So I appreciate you allowing me to spend this time with you today. So Megan, Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Good time.
Thank you, Santa.
Thanks. All right. Well, folks, with that, we're going to call it a day. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas. May the Force be with you always.